Okay, quantitative and qualitative studies in the literature review. So the way you do a qualitative literature review is different from the way you do a quantitative literature review. Okay? This is something you need to know. Okay? What are the qualitative? Qualitative studies are typically those that wish to gain understanding regarding the interaction that take place within a certain social world. Understanding of interactions. I think I read also another author. Sorry. I read another author who said that qualitative studies, it's about what people just it's to learn what people do together or what they refuse to do together. So the qualitative, it's more like description. So the findings are more like deep. It's different from the quantitative, okay? So interactions is the key word here. Interaction is the key word. For quantitative study is where researchers typically want to identify whether or not a statistical relationship exists between variables and how strong and prevalent such a relationship is. Okay, this is quantitative. It's about to see if there is correlation, a relationship between variables. That's why when you have a title like the effect of Ndumunyarwanda on reconciliation, it sounds quantitative. Similarly, you have two variables, Ndumunyarwanda, reconciliation, and you want to see the relationship. But if you say, for example, the various understandings of Ndumunyarwanda among youths. Yeah, that's where there are dependent variables and dependent intervening units. So those are quantitative studies methodology. But you know here, most of the time that's what people do. They call it conceptual framework. Okay? But for me, at least for my students, those who are not my students, you will talk with your supervisor. For my students, no, never bring that theoretical framework. Because theoretical framework, it gives you all these themes and sub-themes that you found in your literature. There should be many. I think I showed you the example last time. Should mean many, okay? Because we want rich discussion. For example, you say various understanding of Ndumunyarwanda among youth. That's a qualitative research. You are not looking for any correlation. You are looking for how interactions, right? The description, rich descriptions of the thing. Not only saying that, okay, Ndumunyarwanda has contributed to reconciliation. That was the result of quantitative research look like. Ndumunyarwanda has contributed to reconciliation. But that's not what we are looking for. We are looking for rich. You can say it has contributed to reconciliation. It has contributed to trauma healing. So then in that way, it's more qualitative. Do you get the difference? Okay. One is the quantity, because you have to have numbers. You should say at 55%, Ndumunyarwanda has contributed. You see, it's a statistical. But for qualitative, we are not counting. We are not we want more rich explanations and descriptions of how the thing is. Okay? Yes?
Do you, when you are using the qualitative, do you need to reach it to anyone? So anyone will find it.
Of course, you have to do interviews. And then if you have like 15 people, you ask them, how is the reconciliation looking like for you? What do you think about this? Those are the open, I think you learn open-ended questions. That's what you ask for qualitative research. Because you are not asking them, you are not asking them to tick. So, do you believe in Umunyarwanda? Yes. Do you believe in reconciliation? Yes. Okay. There is a relationship. That's quantitative, right? But if you're asking them, how do you see the Umunyarwanda? What are the challenges? That will be qualitative. Okay? You get that. It's not a matter of going to collect data. Of course, you collect data, but it's a matter of the nature of your question. I mean, what do you want to, what is your goal? If your goal is to see the statistical relationship, like saying 55% of people I interviewed, they believe the Umunyarwanda has contributed, then that's quantitative. But if the nature of your research is about what people think about the Umunyarwanda, then it will be a qualitative research because you are not counting how many people. You're not saying up to this level. You are more saying like there are different views on the reconciliation. Some people, they think it's looking like this, other people looking like this. Okay? So important. So important. You should have in mind, am I doing a qualitative study? Am I doing quantitative study? At PS, we encourage students to do qualitative, not quantitative. Okay?
But there is also the question of research you have. Also, I'm sure that you are very
yes. So, to what extent the Umunyarwanda has contributed to that is quantitative. That you are confused then. It's wrong. So if your topic is, that's what I'm saying. I told you, you found the topic is quantitative. And then the questions are qualitative. Oh. So you should know exactly what am I looking for. If we are looking for correlation of variables, I want to see if the Umunyarwanda has contributed to reconciliation. And up to which level, then that's quantitative. But if we want to see different phases of reconciliation, different views of Umunyarwanda, then you know that's the quality. It's not the quantity, it's the quality that matters.
So for qualitative, you probably ask open question.
Open-ended question. So you ask people to express themselves. That's where the big task is. Because for quantitative, you make a survey and ask people to tick. Do you believe in the Umunyarwanda has a contributed consideration? Yes, yes. And then you count 55% of people, they said this, and that's it. For example, in AVP, when we are evaluation, we have some close-ended questions like, how satisfied are you? We're saying, very satisfied, satisfied. Those are quantitative type of questions. But at PR, we encourage all of you to do qualitative because it makes you discuss more. Because yes, it's important to have statistics saying like 55% of 95% of the Rwandans are reconciled. Yeah, you can also have a mixed approach. And yeah, if you are confident you can do that, go ahead. Yes. So, yes. So if you are ready to collect data up to, because when you do a quantitative research, I think I will focus on this. If you allow, let's go move. Let me focus on this when we talk about methodologies. Silvio, here I just want to specify that the literature you will do for qualitative and the literature you do for quantitative will be different. That's what we are going to talk about. Yes. Yeah, you're right. But the truth is, I think you know, to be honest, we have a lot of weaknesses. That one of the reasons I'm doing this series is just to clarify something up to my capabilities. I told you I'm not an experienced researcher, but I can show you the basics, okay? So then the questions of, oh, Piers, we are doing this. Yeah, I also say that every time. But that's why we are here to clarify those things, okay? So, literature is written for qualitative study. This is how it looks like. It needs to focus on how a research question is shown to be needed to be addressed. Okay? That is usually broader. The research question is broader than a hypothesis to be tested in a quantitative study. So, when you are doing a literature review for quantitative study, you focus on the hypothesis. So, everybody who believes in the Munyarwanda is reconciling with his neighbor. That's a hypothesis. So, but for qualitative, it's not a hypothesis, it's a research question that you will show is pertinent, is relevant, important to be addressed. So instead of just only focusing on a small hypothesis, should focus on a broader research question. Okay? They need to be all-inclusive approach to the general research topic. So that's what I told you. Because if you go quantitative, you narrow yourself. Do Munyarwanda a reconciliation. The rest of the things you don't care. Because only the variable. Okay? You do a literature for those two variables. Okay? But for qualitative, you are open. That's why you start with a general topic and then you have a lot of sub-themes, like democracy, a lot. If we want to talk about election, but we start discussing about human rights, talk about rule of law, and then you see, you are open, you are all inclusive, and then you go narrowing up to election, not even election, multi-party election. You see? So that's the difference. Qualitative, you started open to bigger things, keep going narrower and narrower. Okay? There need to be only a minor degree of focus on the methods of previous studies and more focus on the specific findings of prior studies. So you don't focus much on methods. You focus much on findings for qualitative. Okay? It's also important to discuss whether or not prior quantitative studies have been conducted on the current research topic. So, okay, this is then important. Even though you are doing qualitative research, it doesn't mean you will not include a findings from a quantitative research. You can see another researcher who did the quantitative research on your topic, you will use it. And then you will establish the need for a qualitative approach instead of quantitative approach. For example, you can use a findings from a quantitative research saying like 75% of peer students, they believe that Munyarwanda has contributed to reconciliation. You can use that one. But because you are doing a qualitative research, you will go further. Maybe saying like, but in this research, we want to know if all those students, they think the Munyarwanda in the same way. You see, you use the quantitative funding, but you show that there is a need for qualitative study on the same topic. So it's possible. Okay? Is it clear? How about quantitative study, literature review for quantitative study. Literature reviews for quantitative study need to discuss both what previous studies pertaining to the research topic have found, concluded, and how such studies were done in terms of the specific variables used and the operationalization of key variables. Here then you focus on variable, you see? Focus on variable only. Okay, there is this research that was trying to see the relationship between the Munyarwanda and the conciliation, and they found that 75% of the, and then you show, okay, but they understand the Munyarwanda in this way. You see, only on variables, you focus on those variables. You are not open to everything, okay? So the literature review, we need to show how particular variables or findings are common or not common across the field of existing studies about the current research topic. So you just want to if you want to do quantitative research, you can use different findings. For example, okay, in Rwanda, the researcher showed that collective identity has contributed up to 70%. In Benin, the research shows that the same variables, they have contributed to 80%. Then in Kampala, in Uganda, they found it was 65%. And then for you, you are like, then we are going to see how in the Burundi it looks like. Very easy. Very easy. Okay? Very easy. And if your findings are same range of statistics, like 70, 60, and the others are also 70, 60, then you say, others also, they found the same thing. That means, right. Okay? But if we found it is lower, then you can ask yourself why. And if you ask yourself why, the probability is that you will go for qualitative research to know deeper. Why is my result not the same as the result from Benin, even though I use the same method and the same variables? So this is the logic about quantitative. Okay? It's very different from qualitative. So literature review on quantitative, you focus on variables and the findings on the relationship of those variables. Only the two you are dealing with, okay? But for qualitative, you have themes. You don't even call them variables. That's why if you do a qualitative research and they use to conceptual framework and they bring more variables, where do you get the variables? We use themes and sub-themes in the qualitative research. Do you get this? Okay. Review used to introduce and set up quantitative studies also focus more heavily on the methods used in the prior studies, even compared to qualitative. Okay. For qualitative studies, you focus on the findings, I told you. But for quantitative, you focus more on the method. Methods are important. You have to discuss the methods deeper than the findings. Because the findings is simple. It's the statistics. It's to say there is a relationship at 50%, but the methods then are important. But for qualitative, what is important is the findings because it's a lot of themes and sub-themes. You need to discuss them. Okay?